Director Park. Welcome to FYCit Contenders in Focus Live.
Thank you.
When you walked into this house, and it's an amazing house, you started looking around as if you were going to shoot your next movie here. Is your creative mind always on? Does it ever turn off?
대부분 감독들이 다 그렇죠.
I think most directors work that way, and I not only make films but also take photography work as well. So I was looking around not just for film purposes but also to see if there's any where I could take a photo.
눈으로 보기도 합니다.
Architecture is a big part of the story of your films, the way in which people live and the houses in which they live. When you come into a house like this or start thinking about a house, do you start seeing characters in that house, or do you first see the characters and imagine what kind of place they would live in?
예, 물론 캐릭터가 먼저고요.
Character always comes first, the character and the story. And based off of that, we decide everything, like what kind of a space would they live in or what kind of a clothes they would wear as well. So every visual element starts from the character, including where the camera goes and what kind of a lens we're using.
Let's talk about where the camera goes, because in this film, you put the camera in some unusual places. It's at the bottom of a cocktail glass. Toward the end of the film, I think you put a camera on a dog. When you are shooting, are you thinking in real time where the camera is going to go, or are you planning all of those shots ahead of time?
예, 저는 JSA라는
Since the film JSA, for every one of my feature works, not including TV series, I always storyboard everything in advance. So I sit with the DP and we plan out everything and put it down on the storyboard as they are to be edited. And then we make it into a booklet and share it with the cast and crew.
좋게.
One of the reasons we are talking today during what is called award season is that your film has been very well received by critics and by awards voters. When you are making a movie, do you have any sense of whether or not it is going to be well received, if it's going to turn out well? Not that you would make a movie that you think is bad, but do you have a sense in the making of a movie if it's going to be well received?
전혀 그렇지 않죠. 저는
I always have a sense of how the audience would react. So starting from when we're working on the screenplay and then we make this into a film, all throughout the process, I go into this endeavor because I am certain that this film will be loved by everybody. Of course, my predictions aren't always true. Some of them aren't as loved and some of them has worse box office scores than the others. But I always start off with that certainty.
I think you probably have to. If you don't think the movie is going to turn out well and that people are going to like it, you would never start making it in the first place.
예, 그렇기도 하고.
Yes, that's true. And I always have my investors in mind. Investors or studios, whatever you might call them, the people who pay for my films. I first have to convince them with my screenplay that your money is not going to be wasted if you put your money into this project. So in order for my words to not become a lie, I always have to be certain that it's going to do well.
I think we can look at some movies and say that they are a reflection of a specific time we are living in. I think American audiences can look at a film from another country and see that as a reflection of what is going on in that country at a specific time. But when you think about the movie that you have just made, Director Park, what does it say about what was going on in your mind in the making of this film? What were you thinking about when you made No Other Choice?
사실
Yes, this project is actually based on an American novel called The Axe, and I've been developing it for 10 plus years to make it into an American film. Of course, it ended up being a Korean film, but I believe the subject matter is universal regardless of where the audience is from. Of course, there are slightly unfamiliar elements to American audiences, such as bonsai, but I believe that the film would be understood and empathized with by any society or country that lives under a capitalist system. And that was always my intention from the start, not to include anything that was specifically Korean that won't be as understood.
I have some good friends who have lost their jobs recently, and there are two things that happen. One is you have to figure out how to make a living, how you're going to put food on the table, how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage. The other thing is just as important, I think, is who are you without your job? What does your job say about your identity? Because certain people's lives are very much connected to their jobs. And it feels as if those are almost in equal balance in this film, that your job is not only what you do to support your family, but also who you are. And when you lose both, you are totally adrift.
제가 원작 소설을
Yes, the reason when I read the original novel that I could immediately empathize with the main character, despite the fact that I have no relations to the paper manufacturing industry at all, is the fact that the character believes that paper manufacturing is his entire life. He equates his life to his job itself. And I felt the same way about me and filmmaking.
전체를 걸었.
The actor Lee Byung-hun, who plays the main character in the film, one of the first questions he asked me was, just because Mansu lost his job, it's not like he's going to go broke or his children are going to starve. So would the audience be able to understand why he would commit murder in order to get back his job? And my answer for him was that jobs aren't just about survival. Just like you've said, for some people, their job equates to their entire life. So regardless of whatever evil task that they have to go through, they will want to get their job back.
나는 내 식구들 입에 밥을 넣어주기 위해 무슨 짓이든 한다. 어쩔 수가 없다.
This is a film about somebody who works in a paper company, which is the same as in Donald Westlake's novel. And I think it's easy to assume paper is a very ordinary thing, but not for these people. They think of themselves, I would argue, as artists, and what they're making are all sorts of different kinds of paper. They're delicate, they're beautiful. They see their work almost, I guess, as a filmmaker would see his work. Did you relate a little bit to the character who takes his job so seriously that what he's doing isn't just making a thing, it's making something that's beautiful and is an object of art?
그렇죠. 종이라는 것은
Yes, paper is quite an ordinary object. We use it in our everyday lives and we crumple it and throw it away. But there are also special types of papers, like the paper used to make bills or passport. There's also more luxurious paper used for art. So for those people who make those kinds of paper, they might consider themselves as an artist of paper manufacturing. And I think it's the same way for film. For some people, they watch film and television shows and they just consider it as a source of entertainment to waste their 2 hours of their lives or 10 hours of their lives. But to others, this is a form of art that is worth risking their entire lives for.
There's an expression in the United States that probably translates to other countries. And it's basically, if 6 people tell you you've had too much to drink, you should probably lie down. If over the course of 20 years, any number of people tell you they don't want to make your movie, some people might say, I should put it down and try to do something else. But you didn't do that. You stuck with this project. Why did you not abandon No Other Choice?
두 가지가 있어요. 하나는
There are 2 reasons. The first one being that my first idea that popped up in my head after finishing the novel is that I want to make this into a film. But if I were to make it, I want to make a change, which is that the family actually notices what the main character has been up to. And this would turn this into a different style of a project. And the idea of that excited me. And the second reason being that when I was in film festivals in different countries, or when I was working on other projects abroad as well, I would tell the people I meet the 5-minute version of No Other Choice at the time. And they would always respond with something like, oh, that would work so well in our country, or, oh, this feels very timely to today. And I've been hearing those things for 15 years. So I was certain that if this movie were to get made, many people around the world would be able to empathize with it.
I think one of the things that happens because it takes so long to make this movie is the world changes. In Donald Westlake's novel, this person loses his job because of cost cutting, not because of robots and artificial intelligence. But in the movie, you're talking about what's happening today. So in a way, did it help the story that you had to wait because you can address an issue that's affecting everybody, including artists right now?
예, 맞습니다.
Yes, you're right. If I had found the investment that I needed back when I was first developing this project, I wouldn't have been able to incorporate all of these elements. But thanks to the passage of time, I was able to portray these new technologies, which I believe were ultimately helpful for the film. So the main character eliminates his human competitors one by one throughout the film to get the job that he wants. But this new technology ends up being the ultimate competitor that he is encountered with, who is even scarier than all of his human competitors. So it makes all of his efforts very futile at the end of the day, and we reach this great tragedy of a film. And all of this was only possible because I incorporated our modern technology.
There's a quick joke in your film about how the family is going to have to cancel their Netflix subscription because they don't have any money. But it's not really that funny because in your country, like a lot of other countries, people don't go to movie theaters anymore. And it feels like that is a very specific line in the film. Even though your film has been successful in Korea, I wonder if you worry about how few people are seeing movies in theaters now.
미국도 그런가 보군요.
Oh, it must be the same way in America. I've heard that things are better in the US. But in Korea, the audience really has been returning to the theater a lot more slowly than audiences in the rest of the world, which is a great concern for all of us there. Because the audience is not coming to the theaters, the studios become more conservative in their selections of projects and they become more picky. So they invest in less projects and they're always going for quote unquote more stable projects as well. And because the audiences aren't able to see new movies in theaters, they don't go to the theaters anymore. So it leads to this bad cycle.
I have a couple of questions about award season. You're seeing and meeting a lot of people who have made other movies. Was there anybody you were really excited or nervous about meeting during this process?
예, 뭐 이렇게 스쳐 지나가는
Yes, I've passed by many people throughout the award season, and I'm always happy to meet these big directors and actors. Lately, I haven't had the time to watch a lot of the movies this year, but I would always tell them things like, "Oh, I liked this or that movie from the past," or I've also mentioned scenes that I really enjoyed from the films, and then I always tell them that I'll watch your new film this year as well. And even though we're from different countries, because we work in the same industry, we always have that mutual respect for each other. So it's always such a joy to have conversations with people. Even just now, I've just met Stellan Skarsgård while we were backstage, and he's always been like a hero to me. So it felt unbelievable to just see him in front of my eyes like that. I was very happy and excited.
Last question. Have you ever, for just a moment, even a brief second, forgotten where you are, what country you're in, or where you are?
예, 맞아요. 맞아요.
Yes, certainly. When I open my eyes in my room, I think to myself, oh, what city am I in? What country am I in? And after I figure that out, I get out of bed.
Director Park, it's an honor to meet you.
불러주셔서 고맙습니다.
Thank you for having me.